At first, it looks like chaos. A crowd of armed men has gathered around a rough wooden table. Someone is shouting. Someone is laughing so hard, his whole body bends backward. Someone is leaning in, trying to add one more insult to a letter that is already becoming dangerous. And in the very center of this storm, one man calmly writes. That is the strange power of Ilya Repin's reply of the Zaporozhian Cossacks. It is a painting that almost makes noise. You can't hear the words, but you can feel the laughter. Loud, smoky, fearless laughter. But what are they laughing at? According to the legend, these Cossacks are writing a reply to the Ottoman Sultan, Mehmed IV. He had allegedly demanded their submission. Their answer was not polite diplomacy. It was mockery. A collective insult turned into a political weapon. And Repin chooses not to show the battle. He shows the moment after the threat when fear should appear, but instead, laughter erupts. Look at the scribe. He is almost the quietest figure in the entire painting. His head is lowered. His hand moves carefully. He is surrounded by noise, smoke, open mouths, raised arms, but he keeps writing. This contrast is essential. Repin places discipline inside disorder. The joke may be wild, but the act itself is serious. These men are not just laughing, they are composing a message of refusal. Now move to the right. This large man in red seems to dominate the sound of the scene. His mouth is open, his hand rests on his stomach, as if the joke has hit him physically. Around him, others smile, grin, or burst into laughter. Repin does something remarkable here. He paints different kinds of laughter. There is sharp laughter, drunken laughter, cruel laughter, childish laughter, old laughter, suspicious laughter. Every face answers the Sultan in its own way. In the lower left, the scene becomes even stranger. A half-naked Cossack leans across the table. Playing cards lie nearby. There are weapons, pipes, cups, fabric, and a musical instrument almost buried under bodies and objects. This is not a clean, heroic council. It is messy, physical, human. Repin refuses to turn these men into marble statues. They sweat, smoke, drink, joke, argue, and still somehow become monumental. Ilya Repin was one of the great realist painters of the 19th century. He was interested not only in history, but in people, in faces, gestures, fatigue, pride, cruelty, tenderness. When he worked on this canvas, he did not simply invent a crowd from imagination. He studied Cossack history, traveled, collected details, read documents and legends, and used real people as models. That is why the painting feels so alive. It is a historical myth built out of observed human truth, and this is one of the first surprises. There is no single hero. Even Ataman Ivan Sirko, traditionally associated with the legend, does not fully take over the scene. Repin builds the painting like a chorus. The power here belongs to the group, to the collective voice. That is why the composition is so crowded. Bodies press into each other, arms overlap, spears and banners rise in the background like broken lines of rhythm. The table becomes a stage, and the letter becomes the script everyone is helping to write. The hands tell their own story. One hand writes, another points, another grips a pipe, another rests on a belly, shaking with laughter. These gestures turn the painting into a conversation without sound. Repin understood that a crowd is not painted only through faces. It is painted through elbows, shoulders, fingers, posture, through the way people invade each other's space. To understand the scene, we need the world behind it. The Zaporozhian Cossacks lived on the frontier of empires, in the lands beyond the Dnieper Rapids. Their society developed around military self-rule, raids, alliances, betrayals, and constant pressure from powerful neighbors. The Ottoman Empire, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Crimean Khanate, and Muscovy all formed part of the larger political landscape around them. In that world, a letter could be more than paper. It could be a declaration of identity. The background reminds us that this laughter happens in a military camp. There are spears, flags, smoke, distant figures. Nothing here is stable. The sky is pale and dusty. The horizon seems restless. It is as if the whole steppe is listening. But the men at the table do not look frightened. The Sultan's threat, if the legend is true, should have placed them below imperial power. Instead, Repin paints them as people who refuse the very language of submission. Look at this old man with the pipe. His face is sharp, wrinkled, suspicious. He is not laughing like the others. He seems to be testing the words, judging whether the insult is strong enough. Smoke rises near him, making his face appear and disappear. This is where the painting becomes more than comedy. Repin gives each figure a psychology. These are not background extras. Each man carries a different memory, a different temperament, a different relationship to danger. On the far right, a figure in a white cloak turns away from us. He does not join the laughter in the same direct way. His back creates a barrier, almost like a curtain at the edge of the stage. Through him, Repin makes us aware that we too are outsiders looking in. We are not invited politely into this gathering. We are pushed into it. Above the group, a hand rises into the air. The gesture is theatrical, almost absurd. It breaks the line of heads and pulls our eyes upward. Repin uses these vertical accents, arms, spears, banners, to keep the crowd from becoming a flat mass. Everything moves. Everything interrupts everything else. One important figure behind this painting was the historian Dmytro Yavornitsky, who helped Repin with Cossack material. He is also commonly identified as the model for the scribe. This matters because the central writer is not just any man. He becomes the bridge between legend and scholarship, between oral story and painted history. Repin was not documenting a verified event with photographic certainty. He was reconstructing a myth carefully, obsessively, but still a myth. And here lies the central mystery. The original letter, as a historical document, is not securely proven. Scholars have debated the correspondence for a long time. Versions of the text circulated, changed, became rougher, funnier, more vulgar, more legendary. So, what exactly did the Cossacks write? Maybe the better question is, why did people want to believe they wrote it? The painting answers that question with faces. People wanted this story because it offered a fantasy of perfect defiance. A small, rough, independent group looks at an empire and refuses to be intimidated, not with silence, not with a solemn speech, but with laughter. That is why the laughter feels almost dangerous. It destroys distance. It pulls the Sultan down from the level of sacred authority into the level of a joke. Because beneath the humor, the painting asks an uncomfortable question. Is this a celebration of freedom? A romantic myth? A nationalist legend? A comic scene? A political image disguised as history? Probably it is all of these at once. The table gives the chaos structure. The letter gives the laughter direction. The crowd gives the myth a body. So when we look at reply of the Zaporozhian Cossacks, we are not simply watching men laugh. We are watching a legend being manufactured in real time. A doubtful letter becomes a national memory. A noisy crowd becomes a symbol of freedom. A historical anecdote becomes one of the most alive scenes in 19th century art. And maybe that is why the painting still works today. Because everyone knows what it feels like to face a voice that says, submit. And everyone understands the power of answering, not with fear, but with laughter. But what do you think? Is this painting mainly a historical legend, a celebration of freedom, or something more ironic, a reminder that even myths can become stronger than facts? And which face in this crowd seems to you the most important?